Thousands of people every single month join a Reddit community to report the same thing. A crowd of strangers freezing mid-motion, like someone hit pause on reality. A face that pixelated, an object that vanished and then reappeared somewhere it absolutely could not be. The community is called r/glitch in the matrix. And here's what's genuinely unsettling about it. Neurologists, physicists, and simulation theorists have all looked at these reports, and they each have a different explanation. None of them are fully satisfying, and all of them are kind of terrifying. Let's start with the most famous kind of report. You're walking down a street, totally normal day, and you pass someone wearing a red jacket. You turn the corner, and there they are again. Same jacket, same walk, same everything, but you watched them go the opposite direction. You didn't loop around. There was no way. Reddit has hundreds of accounts like this. Witnesses who are otherwise perfectly lucid, not sleep-deprived, not medicated, not distressed, just people who saw something that shouldn't be possible. So what is actually going on? The first layer of explanation comes from neuroscience, and it's interesting precisely because it almost makes sense. Our brains are not passive cameras recording objective reality. They're predictive machines. Right now, your brain is running a simulation of the world, built from sensory input, memory, and pattern recognition. It shows you the most likely version of reality, not necessarily the actual one. Neuroscientists call this predictive processing. Your brain essentially makes a bet about what's out there, and then only uses new sensory data to correct the prediction when it has to. Most of the time this works perfectly, but sometimes the prediction glitches. The brain loads a cached version of something, a face, a person, a sound, and overlays it onto fresh sensory input. You see something that was never quite there. The technical term for a severe version of this is a palinopsia event, the persistent repetition of a visual image after the stimulus is gone. Doctors have documented it. It's real, and it's one explanation for the same person twice phenomenon. But here's where it gets more complicated. Because palinopsia typically follows eye strain, migraine, or neurological injury, the people on r/glitch in the matrix are mostly reporting experiences that happen once, cleanly, with no medical history, and never repeat. And that doesn't quite fit the neurology textbook. So now we bring in the psychologists. There's a phenomenon called deja vu, which most people think they understand, but actually don't. The dominant scientific theory isn't about past lives or memory replay. It's about a brief misfiring between two memory systems, familiarity recognition firing a fraction of a second before episodic memory can contextualize it. Your brain tags something as known before it can explain why.
The result is that eerie, unlocalizable sense of having been here before. Some researchers believe a broader class of perceptual glitches operates on the same mechanism, a kind of temporal slippage in the brain's processing pipeline. Your conscious experience is always running about 80 milliseconds behind real time. The brain stitches together a smooth present from a tiny buffer of the recent past. In rare moments, that stitching fails. You experience a seam. And now here's the part the neuroscientists and psychologists tend not to talk about, because there's a third category of reports that doesn't fit brain error at all. These involve physical objects. This is the pattern interrupt the skeptics never quite answer. There are hundreds of documented accounts, not on Reddit, but in peer-reviewed anomalistic psychology research, of people witnessing objects disappear from a closed room and reappear in a different location. Keys, rings, small personal items. The cases that are most difficult to dismiss involve multiple witnesses in the same location simultaneously watching the same event. You can't explain that with one person's predictive processing error. You'd need everyone's brain to malfunction in sync at the same moment in the same way. Anomalistics researcher Mary Rose Barrington spent years cataloging what she called JOTT events, just one of those things, objects that seem to vanish or teleport. Her conclusion wasn't that she had solved the mystery. It was that the phenomenon was consistent enough across independent witnesses that dismissing it entirely required more assumptions, not fewer. So we've gone from brain misfires to temporal seams to objects moving through space they couldn't physically cross. This is where the simulation theorists enter the conversation, and I want to be careful here, because this is the part that either sounds like philosophy or sounds like science, depending on where you're standing. The simulation hypothesis, made famous by Nick Bostrom's 2003 paper, argues that if any sufficiently advanced civilization ever developed the ability to run ancestor simulations,
The number of simulated realities would vastly outnumber the single base reality. Statistically, we're more likely to be in a simulation than not. Physicists like James Gates actually found something suggestive while working on string theory equations, error-correcting codes embedded in the fundamental mathematics of reality, the same type of code used in computer operating systems. He said publicly he doesn't know what to make of it. Now, I'm not telling you we live in a simulation. I genuinely don't know. But here's what the glitch reports look like if you accept that premise even hypothetically. They look like rendering errors, cached assets loading twice, a physics calculation that didn't update in time, a low-priority background process that got overridden and had to reload.
The language maps disturbingly well onto the experiences people are describing. And here's the deepest layer, the one that actually kept me up writing this. Whether the explanation is neurological, psychological, or something stranger, what all three frameworks agree on is this: there is no guaranteed direct access to base reality. Either your brain is constructing a version, or the physics underneath has seams, or the entire substrate is a process running on something else. Every single serious attempt to explain the glitch phenomenon leads you to the same uncomfortable door. You are not experiencing reality directly. You are experiencing a model of it. And occasionally, for reasons we don't fully understand, the model shows its edges. So the next time you see the same stranger twice around a corner they couldn't have turned, or you find your keys in a room you know you didn't enter, pause before you chalk it up to tiredness. Ask yourself what you're actually experiencing. Because the most honest answer from the smartest people who've studied this is, we're not entirely sure, and that matters. If you've had one of these experiences, a genuine one, the kind you never quite told anyone because it sounds too strange, drop it in the comments. I read every single one, and I'm not going to dismiss you. Subscribe if you want to keep going down this road, because there's a lot more road.